Hello and welcome to Gundry's Guides episode 2. This will focus on the wonderful Mandarin duck, which I spent a lot of time photographing in early 2023. Perhaps Britain's prettiest duck, and one of its prettiest birds overall, the Mandarin's native range is far eastern temperate Asia, Japan, Korea, the easternmost areas of China, and the southeasternmost areas of the former USSR. Bizarrely, and due to introductions in the 20th century, it is locally common in much of England and Holland. Does any other species have its two major strongholds 125 degrees apart from the other? I know of none. Hunting and deforestation has reduced its native population to less than 1,000 pairs in both China and the former USSR, but thankfully Japan retains about 5,000 pairs. Britain has approximately 4,400 according to the RSPB. So sadly, this is not really a common bird anywhere, although it can be locally abundant. Related to the American wood duck, which is the only other member of the genus Ixe, this is about the size of a tufted duck and has remarkable sexual dimorphism, with the males being truly spectacular. Its species name, Galericulata, is the Latin for wig or bonnet, presumably named after the male's fabulous head plumage. I've been able to find small numbers of these stunning birds at Reddish Vale Country Park, and they will readily come to feed on duck food. This is a tree duck, so they spend large amounts of time high in large mature trees. A lovely sight. They nest in tree cavities near water, with up to 12 eggs laid. The male protects the nest but does not incubate it, and the female has to coax the still flightless chicks out of the nest once they hatch. This must be a wonderful sight, and I would love to see it. They have Catholic tastes, including plants, seeds, beech mast, snails, insects, small fish, acorns, grains, worms, frogs, and small snakes. It was a privilege to spend many hours with them in spring 2023, and they're meant to be more abundant in winter. I can't wait. For the technical information, these images were made with a Z9 and a mixture of the 600mm f4 and the 80-400 lens. The 600mm sometimes with a 1.7 times TC and the 80-400 sometimes with a 1.4. I underexposed a little, perhaps too much, so as to hold back potentially burnt out highlights on the male's white face. The latter action shots use pre-release burst at 30 frames per second, an amazing feature that became available with firmware 2.0 and onwards on the Z9. A few centrally located AF points and AF continuous works well enough here. These are not tricky subjects in terms of autofocus. I often used a grand plate with a long lens gimbal mounted to it to get a low perspective, only a few inches above the water. Live view was essential with a lens that low, but the Z9, being mirrorless, has as good autofocus when using the LCD screen for photography as with the viewfinder. This has not been the case for any DSLR I have used, where the autofocus using the LCD screen can be very unresponsive. Returning to the ecology of the species, although they are hunted by predators including mink, raccoon dogs, otters, polecats, eagle owls and grass snakes, deforestation is the main threat, and they are still poached by humans for their extraordinary plumage. They are regarded as a symbol of marital bliss and fidelity in China, Japan and Korea, with wooden mandarins being a common wedding present in the latter country. Yuan Yang is the English translation of the Chinese symbols for the male, Yuan, and female, Yang, mandarins. The two sexes look so different that Yuan Yang can, ironically, symbolise both loving marriage and fidelity and a mismatched couple in China. As you can see from some of the latter shots, mandarin mating behaviour can be every bit as unchivalrous as that of the mallard. I think with wildlife photography it is important to remember that this is not just a science. We're not just doing this to get technically sharp pictures. These are exquisite birds. I think that's entirely fair for these amazing animals. We're very lucky to have a population of them in northwest England, and long may it continue. It is of course very sad that they are not very abundant anywhere in the world, really. A total global population of maybe 15,000 pairs really isn't very much at all, and we should do our absolute best to look after them. They are exquisite animals, and so go to a local reserve, well, do some research online, go to a local reserve, bring a bag of floating duck food. They don't really go for the stuff that sinks very much, and enjoy yourself. They are wonderful, wonderful things. So I very much hope you've enjoyed this video. There'll be another one along in a week or two. And my week-long workshop on Skookum Island should be confirmed for sometime in June in the next few weeks. So message me on here if you have any interest in going on that. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to spend a whole week on an incredible island with something like 10,000 pairs of puffins. And I do all the cooking and organise all the food.